And if that isn't a truly pathetic group, I don't know what one is. Pfft. Absolutely pathetic. I mean, just... For crying out loud, we had a tribe deliberately trying to throw a challenge, and a whole other tribe still manages to lose because they're so stupid. Oh man, I mean, like, most of the time we call the trying to throw the challenge pathetic, but after that, I'm at a loss for words. So is Jeff. Yeah. Oh man, that is a first. China doesn't count. One tribe was actually trying to win the challenge, and one member of the other tribe was trying to help throw. Just one member. There you go. So, yeah. We winded the tape, though. So the beauty tribe gets back from tribal, and wasn't really expecting anything to really come out of that tribe, because for the past 2 episodes there really hasn't been that much story, because as it seems to have become more evident, there isn't that much story to tell. But surprisingly, Morgan decides to throw a bit of a curveball to try and put Jeremiah in the bad light, to indicate that he actually was responsible for Bryce and her trying to vote Alexis out in the first place, where really it was the other way around. Now, what Jeremiah, I think, should have done was either go to his alliance one time with Morgan and go, that's not true, or just oust her outright back. But Jeremiah he doesn't really say anything. He actually seems to go right along with it. What? Dude! That's not how it happened. And the crazy thing is, it seems like LJ was actually really considering it. So was Alexis. So, there might be hope for her yet. Interesting, huh? What the heck is Dalton Ross's nickname for her? I don't know. Okay, so... So then we've got the blindfold reward challenge, and man, that was a great challenge. I mean, like, Shield the One and All-Stars was a lot more funner because everyone was smacking them into each other with all those puzzle pieces, and man, that looked like it hurt, but all the crotch shots are going on. Poor LJ, he got more croc shots than all the others combined. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure there were like 7 big hits, and he got 3 or 4 of them. Lindsay got 2 of them. I know Spencer got 1, and then you could argue either he got another one or Kaz got another, but... oh, man. Oh, God, that was just so funny. Well, Beauty coming in first. Well, after a while, I think we all could have seen that coming in the challenge. So then it came down to Brain versus Brawn, and Brawn was like almost a full item behind, but the issue was the Brain tribe seemed to be able to move faster, but had issues with the pole thing. And I mean, like, it is tough to figure out for a while, but one just has to realize you don't do it fast, you actually do it slow, because if you do it slower, obviously it's easier to do it in unison. But, of course, he did the challenge, you get a little screwed up on that. That's natural to think, but the fact that the Brains tribe obviously has Jatia, and they've done pretty bad in the first 2 challenges and the first half of the third one, it just stands out more in our minds as not looking that great. So as Brain was coming back with the flag, I could tell that Braun would be able to get the flag to the podium. The tricky part was who was going to raise it first. But then, inexplicably, Jatia suddenly moves from her position of holding the rope to being the one that's actually trying to position the items, unlike Spencer and Kaz, who have been doing it for almost every other item. What's the logic in that? And I mean, like, shouldn't there actually be a rule that the second person that's pulling the rope actually has to stay there? It's odd. Why would Jatia suddenly start doing it when Spencer and Kaz were already doing it. Doesn't really make any sense. So because of just not being able to position a flag, even though it is very tricky to position a lot of those items because they're light. And if an item's light, it's very easy to roll it, especially if it's lawn, and every item that was light was lawn. But yeah, the brain tribe just blows it, and then Brawn is able to do the victory. I mean, like, jeez, talk about fumbling up at the last stage. Ugh, man. So, I gotta talk about this. So, the beauty tribe goes back to their camp, and then we get that whole how does the chicken and the egg thing meet up? Well, it seems like, according to most sources that I've seen, I personally had no idea really how hens actually make the eggs. Most of the things that I checked out seem to indicate that the hens can lay eggs naturally, but it takes another factor to actually produce chickens, aka a rooster or a man-made stuff. You should know what I mean, use your imagination. And then LJ launches into that crazy speech about how the egg actually came before the chicken, but he took it a little differently because most people, when they say what came first, the chicken or the egg, they just seem to actually make it seem like they have to be together. I forget the actual term for it, but LJ says these are actually two separate ideas. The idea of a chicken and then the idea of an egg, and dinosaurs laid eggs before that. And even though he didn't say this fish laid eggs before dinosaurs, so, Now stick it, LJ, even though it's still kind of stupid yet funny. And it's also pretty interesting how he was playing dumb when he sees the clue for the idol. And I'm surprised. I'm like, oh yeah, what's this? And they'll just calmly reading it like they have no clue that it's a clue for an idol. When you should have realized that it's a clue for an idol after a couple of seconds. Now, I can understand that you don't understand it for the few seconds long enough to go, oh yeah, hey guys, what the heck is this? I can understand that. That happened to HVV, some of the game's best, mind you, but I just don't know. And then as for Brawn, well, Tony's definitely created a good amount of chaos in making the tribe not even think about him and instead trying to, self-destruct within themselves. And then Sarah comes up with the crazy issue to blindside Cliff by actually throwing the challenge. Well, I don't know. On the one hand, he would be a little tricky to handle if he gets to the budge because he is likable and could form a good relationship with somebody, but at the same time, there's advantages and disadvantages to it, so whatever. But it seems like the Brains tribe is actually willing to do it because they had already predetermined somehow that Lindsay, the only other person that could help Cliff, would be sitting out of that immunity challenge, so yeah, that's 3 out of the 4 people actually thinking about throwing it, so there you go. So as for that challenge, Beauty winning was a guarantee after they came up with that third buoy. Just everybody was confident in the water, albeit they were actually working 100% and were comfortable, whereas Brain obviously were not comfortable and Braun wasn't working 100%, even though I think Wu was doing a bit of a mix, because let's be realistic here. He didn't struggle as much as Trish and it's Sarah or Stephanie? I think it's Sarah. I've almost got the names down. But yeah, it was just so crazy to watch that whole thing go on, and then Spencer literally had to do almost everything himself, for crying out loud. I mean, like, the only things he didn't do were sink buoys 4 and 5 and get the very first buoy. That's it! Everything else he did on his own. Jeez. That was just ridiculous. Those 3 were pathetic, and Kaz, who would have seen that coming? Jeez. So then, Braun, even though they were trying to lose, gets a victory. And then, yeah, Sarah's right. If you're trying to throw a challenge and you still win, yeah. Yeah, Jeff's right when they were in trouble. He's just like, Yeah, that was pathetic doesn't even cut it for this tribe. They've been at that was pathetic before, but this, oh man. Yeah. So the whole time that they were debating about getting rid of Jatio or Spencer, I was like, do not get rid of Spencer, because if you do, I'm officially going to write you off, because that is officially the last straw after all that. And thankfully they didn't, although really I think it was Kaz that firmly decided it, because even though Kaz was the swing vote the last time the Brains went to Tribal Council, and I think she does have some regrets about that decision, I think ultimately she is right. She makes a decision and then goes with it, whereas Tasha is a little bit more flip-floppy, even though I think if I was in either of their position, I would be more in Tasha's position, because I fret about little details in my normal life like all the time. I wouldn't necessarily call it OCD, I just, shall we say, get uncomfortable if I don't think everything is in harmony? I think that's the right word to use, yeah. So Jatia finally leaves, thank you, because if Spencer had just gone, that would have been it for that tribe. Even though it was it for the tribe anyway, because every time there's been a free tribe thing, after 4 boots, they dissolve the tribes, although this time it's going to be pretty different, because unlike All-Stars and Philippines, they're going to firmly mix up all tribes, whereas just breaking up one and dividing it into the other tribes, but it's just a little bit different now than it was back then, because in Philippines, I think they were originally going to do some kind of dissolving thing, but because Mad Scene lost every challenge, it was just easier to say, you know what, we really just had 2 tribes and 1 tribe that just was so incompetent, let's just finish it off. And then as for All-Stars, well, the tribes were pretty close in numbers, because 5 Shapiro, 5 Mogo Mogo, 4 Saboga, and back then it was natural to see a tribe be at uneven numbers after like a tribe switch, so it wouldn't have been a big deal if Saboga had won the Dissolve Challenge or if it had come in second. It was just coincidence that they were the last tribe. But here, it's even tougher to do it because it's 6-5-3. So, I think you get the idea. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what the heck happens to these tribes. I do think it was a bit of a bummer, though, that Brawn never went to Tribal before this thing, so I kind of hope that that tribe actually does splinter, because I think that would make it a little more interesting, because I'll be firmly honest, if Brawn had stayed together, I wouldn't have liked that, because I'm seeing more and more Tandang in them, and as you guys know, Tandang was my least favorite tribe in Survivor Philippines, and almost everything that I don't like about that season was caused by a member of Tandang. Right. So, Brawn, I just wanted to splinter apart, but if they create chaos, I'm fine with that. I'd love to see that. As for a Brain, really I just want Spencer to be in a good spot, because after all the hell he went through on that tribe, even though a bit of it was because of his actions, I just want him to be better off. Beauty, no comment, honest. Lee, I'm just curious to see how LJ and Morgan mix in with the new crowds. And then Steven made this crazy comment about how he and a couple of other fans are kind of hoping for a Spencer and Morgan kind of thing. What? Well, given how much everyone is talking about it, it probably will happen, because we somehow are able to come up with crazy things like this, because even before One World first aired, stupid dog, I kind of was thinking that it would be very cool if Kim and Chelsea were to partner up and then dominate the season, and they did. So, that will be interesting to see, but it doesn't have to happen. So, I'm hoping that the transition from 3 to 2 tribes isn't that big of a, shall we say, shadow to how good the season has been so far, and I'm really looking forward to what's going to be happening. Later, guys.